This is an interesting edition of the Business and Economy program, focusing on performance of the nation's economy resulting from the implementation of government policies and programs. I am Ile Emeje. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will clock 2 years in office on the 29th of May 2025. That's this month. The president, on assumption in office, embarked on a major reforms which included the deregulation of the energy sector, floating of the naira, tax bill, and other sundry reforms. The president also created, in addition to the 42 ministries, 6 more ministries, and also established the new Nigeria Education Loan Fund, popularly referred as Student Loan, while promising to bring in high-capacity buses that runs on compressed gas engine. And so today on Business and Economy, we are taking a critical look at how these reforms have impacted Nigerians and Nigeria as a nation. My guest is an economic analyst and a chartered accountant, Mr. Johnson Sani Emeje. Mr. Johnson Sani Emeje will be joining us immediately after the business news to take a look on the general overview of the performance of the reforms of the administration. We'll be back shortly. The Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, and the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu in Abuja, during a joint meeting with private sector partners managing the highway projects, reinforced federal government support to private sector-led infrastructure development.
And more fundamentally, it was always the plan, it was always the determination, the policy, and the strategy of Mr. President to stabilize the macroeconomic environment, to allow the private sector to come in and invest across all sectors, increase productivity, grow the economy, create jobs, and reduce poverty.
The government is determined to support the private sector so that your investors, those who you approach for funding, will have a rest of mind that reforms have been put in place and will stay the course.
Speaking in an interview with newsmen, Mr. Edun emphasized economic stabilization and the need to grow faster and inclusively, adding that private sector-led infrastructure delivery is central.
Already, the 125-kilometer Benin to Asaba highway concession agreement has been signed. The addendum has been signed. All arrangements have been finalized, and in fact, the Ministry of Works has handed over the road to the concessionaire, and they have already started the preliminary arrangements for reconstruction of that road into, in places, a 10-lane highway.
Also speaking, Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, Mr. Jobson Ewalefo, acknowledged government's readiness to supporting infrastructural agreements while pointing capacity and capital availability.
We are going to exercise ourselves as a regulator to ensure that we provide support so that we are being seen to be transparent, not encouraging some parties to move to side and holding back on others. But today, I think if we listen to your concerns, we'll be able to meet at the middle where Nigerians will be able.
On their part, the private sector partners managing the highway projects urged for proper documentation.
But they said, okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 like that, but they want to fund the whole thing.
The initiative aligns with the President Tinubu renewed hope agenda, anchored on fiscal discipline, strategic investment, and job creation. Ile Emeje, ASO Television News. In case you just tuned in, you are on to your regular program, Business and Economy, where our focus is to make analysis of government policies, reforms and programs and its attendant impact on Nigeria as a country and Nigerians as a people. And today we are taking a look at the general overview of the performance of this administration in the last 2 years on assumption in office. My guest, as I mentioned earlier, is a chartered accountant and an economic analyst as well as an administrator. And he is no other person, but he is Mr. Johnson Sani Emeje. Mr. Johnson Sani, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, just like yesterday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has clocked 2 years in office. And the question to ask is, how far and how well?
Yeah, thank you so much. The president, yes, he has done his very best. Before assumption, there was this outcry of the mess that had been done to the country before his assumption, and he did told us that he is very, very much aware, but he is prepared for the job.
Okay.
And on the very day of inauguration, he started rolling out his policies, the direction of government, and immediately also plans were put in place to inaugurate the National Assembly and to put the Federal Executive Council. Ministers were appointed, and they took the oath of office and they start the work. Now the bulk stops on the president's table. I quite agree with that, but we must also understand that the president is one man. He's not an omnipresent person. He has appointed you and I to man the various offices, the various departments and ministries. And what the president does is to give approval for the necessary policies and any idea that might be simulated by any of the ministers.
Okay.
And the ministers are no angels. They are just you and I, representing the various states in Nigeria. For example, the Minister of Mines and Steel and State Development. Yes.
State Development.
Yes, Ministry of State Development, for example, is from your state, representing you there and representing Nigeria. Now, if, for example, let's give, for instance, that if the man fails, we know that the ball could be on the tables of the president, but it's not the president that failed. It is you and I that have been privileged to be there. Since he came to the office, what can we say he has done? In a sane environment, he should have called the press, the media, to brief them on the problems on ground, the problem he met, what he tends to do, and what he's doing for the future. This is what I expect all the ministers to do. But a lot of them are shying away from it.
Which I think some of them, most of them did.
Yeah, I don't think most of them, maybe a few of them, very, very few of them that did. What can you say is the level of Ajokota? Now, what can you say is the level? What has he done since he came? You need to speak before we can analyze. We are not spirit. We're not spirit that we just know what is in his mind. Whatever you are doing, if you don't speak for us to hear, we don't know what you are doing. So, what we can do as analysts is based on what they say and what we see them do. We analyze. Now, look at the Ministry of Solid Mineral. Since this administration came to power 2 years ago, one will have been. I was thinking that by now we should be thinking of how much has been rolled into the federation account from the sales of solid mineral. I've not heard it. And I'm also not aware that illegal mining has stopped in Nigeria. Recently, in Nasarawa State, some people were arrested for illegal mining. We know and we knew how it has been. The ministers should sit up because the president cannot be everywhere. The president has graciously appointed a few out of us to mind the various ministries. Now, if you also look at the FCT, Mr. Project, we could see what he's doing. Everywhere you go around the FCT is project upon project, construction upon construction. And I begin to wonder, is it only this administration that money started coming to that ministry? What about those that spent several years ago? What can we say they did? But everywhere is being opened. Places where you never thought a government can ever come. It's being opening up because of one man's initiative. Suppose we have similar people all around manning the whole ministries, Nigeria will not be where it is today. And so I doff my cap for Mr. Project Johnson Muki. He has tried, he's doing his best, not minding what anybody may say about him. We're not talking politics, we're talking economy, we're talking development, we're talking infrastructure. The minister is all out to develop Abuja. In fact, he promised to make Abuja a mega city, a modern city. And that's exactly what we've been looking and yearning for. Now, in also assessing the performance of this administration, let's look at the power sector. To the best of my knowledge, when President Jonathan sold out NEPA to private investors,
when embarked on privatization initiative,
yes, the reforms in the power sector. I think he called it a roadmap to power sector.
Yeah,
I remember then that even the prepaid meter were given free, and I recall that every house has to be metered, and the money was not available. Today, meter is selling far above 100,000. What ought to be free to Nigerians? And Nigerians were defenseless and were voiceless. Nobody said nothing. And to make matter worse, when this prepaid meter get burnt, there's no agency, no department in the power sector that repairs it. Even rockets can be repaired. Rocket that goes to the moon, it can be repaired. The plane that flies in the air, it can be repaired. The ships on the high sea can be repaired. Why can't we repair prepaid meter? I understand also that there's a company in Akwa Ibom State that produces meter. Why not make an agreement, a department where meter can be repaired? They said meter cannot be repaired. Prepaid meter cannot be repaired. And NEPA will keep bringing light and taking light, bringing and taking until they start burning our prepaid meter, and they say you should go and buy what was given. I bought one for 45,000, but today it's more than 200,000. What are we not talking in the power sector? Is it that to rule a country? Now look at again. They divided the power sector into bands. They said band A, band B, band C, unbundle and whatever them. I don't understand them. They call it, and they give you bill based on the band you read. Meanwhile, when you're supposed to have 18 hours, you may not get 10 hours, but they'll bring the bill as if you were using the light for the number of hours that they place you. Nigerians were just being left out, and the Mr. President must look into this power sector. No country develop without a stable power. No country anywhere in the world, because development is hinged on the sustainability and the stability of power. They are only levying us. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Agency, I don't know what they are doing.
They are working.
I don't know what they are doing. I said they could be working based on your own assessment, but they are not working as far as I'm concerned. What are they doing? Now, if we move from power sector to security department, Minister of Defense, I cannot understand. Bandits, Boko Haram, terrorists, killing Nigerians on a daily basis. How many are they? If the population of the army in Nigeria, only the army, I'm not sure they are less than 200,000. The police could not be less than 300,000. The civil defense could not be less than 100,000. The Nigerian Navy could not be less than 100,000. The Nigerian Air Force, the NIA, the DSS, put it together, we are well over 1 million security agents in Nigeria. How many are these bandits that we cannot control? When it was the time of Buhari, we were told, or it was looking as if because Buhari is a Fulani man and the bandits, majority of them are Fulani, but Buhari is no longer. Yes, allegedly. But now, President Buhari is no longer in the government. Tinubu is here right now. What are we not saying? There is something that we have not been told. There is something that we have not known that we need to know. Now, I want to give a free suggestion to the government.
Look at the camera.
So I want to give free suggestion to the government. I know that there's a bill in the National Assembly for the creation of a state police. While we are waiting for the state police to be created, what is wrong if half of the security agents are transferred back to their state of origin, the federal agencies? I mean, the federal, the police, the army, the civil defense.
Transfer to their home origin.
Yes,
do what?
yes. Transfer them to the state of their origin because they understand the terrain of their state more than any other person. Let me give you an example. Assuming in Kogi State, you deploy all the security agencies, maybe half of the security agencies that are Kogi origin, and you even all the retired army, the retired police that are still strong, you put them together. Do you think these bandits will go to any of the villages and begin to kill people? If you transfer all the security agents who are from Plateau State, you transfer them back to Plateau State, do you think they will not understand the terrain more than if you take me to Plateau State? I will not understand the terrain. If you transfer all the army from Benue State, all the police from Benue State, all the DSS from Benue State, even just half of them back to Benue State to go and man security there, do you think these bandits will get there?
So generally, what is
what I'm recommending while we are waiting for the creation of state police, let for the immediate need now, let them send half of the security agents back to their states.
Right.
Let them spend 6 months, and you will be so surprised that these bandits, they will fly out of this country. And you know that I know that a lot of these bandits are not even Nigerians. I don't think they are Nigerians. Okay. Nigerians were not that wicked to ourselves that people will be sleeping, you come and just fire and kill them and run away into the bush. Where is that bush? Let these federal police from various states come back to their states and comb the entire forest. The forest is not meant for the bandits. Our farmers can no longer go back to the farms. Now, how do you assess a government? No matter your performance, if the people are hungry, what have you done? Okay. The president will need to look into these suggestions, transfer a lot of them back to their states, and I can assure you, if they spend only 6 months in the various states, that will mark the end of the insecurity in Nigeria. Okay, let's take a look at the major reforms. You recall that the president has rolled out several major policies, which include, among others, the removal of subsidy, flotation of the naira, and the tax reform bill. How do you think Nigerians has fared under these policies? Yes, Nigerians have not fared better. But I am completely in support of the removal of fuel subsidy. In fact, I am an apostle clamoring for the removal long ago for the removal of fuel subsidy. Why did I say so? Now, when the President Buhari was in government, we were told that Nigeria was consuming 69 million liters a day.
That's of fuel.
And subsidies is paid on that 69 million liters per day as subsidy. Where are the cars? Now, when Mia Sanusi was the CBN governor, how much was he paying subsidy?
How much was he paying?
What was paying was far below what we were paying under Buhari as subsidy. So there is a whole lot of fraud, corruption going on in that sector. And to make matter worse, after the subsidy are paid, this fuel is ferried illegally to our neighboring countries. And so a very reasonable government will not sustain such a policy. So the removal of fuel subsidy is justified because Nigeria couldn't have been able to afford to pay that bill. But it should have been subjected to the functioning of the refineries. How can you have 4 refineries? Four refineries, and the 4 are not working? The 4 refineries, were they built by ghosts or by angels? Even if they're built by angels, can't you call back those angels to come and take care of what they did? We have spent over 11 trillion in maintaining refineries for 10 years, and yet those refineries are not working. There is something that they've not told us. The president must look into it. President Tinubu must look into what's happening. He is the Minister of Petroleum. He has to call in the past governor of Central Bank to tell us what happened to that money. Who collected it? Where's the company that took the turnaround maintenance of refineries and are not working? So, in my own understanding, what I think the president should have done will have been that before removing the first subsidy, you will have made the refineries to work so that we have internal production. So Nigerians will not be subjected to international price of crude in the international market. We produce crude oil at our backyard here. Send it to our local refinery, refine for us to use at our own price, not international price. This is what I thought this is what I thought the president was going to do. How can Nigerian buy fuel at 900 naira per liter? I mean, considering our salary structures in Nigeria, how feasible? So it is throwing in too much of poverty. Nigerians are dying in poverty. This truth must be known to the president, that he has to look into the oil sector. He has to look into those refineries. What went wrong? The money appropriated for refining, for the turnaround maintenance of the refineries. How come the oil refineries are not working? Who are those contractors? They should bring them in to speak for us to hear, because Nigeria belongs to all of us. And I'm sure President Tinubu is a very smart man that I know that he's looking to that direction.
I think he's also working on what
looking
talking
there.
about.
Now,
Let's look at the flotation of the Naira and the tax reform bill because of our time.
Let's look at the flotation of the Naira. And to me, another mistakes have also been made in that direction, because it's like you sending a goat and a lion into a ring to fight. You know already it's a predetermined result. The lion will swallow the goat.
How do you mean?
What I mean is that there's no how you can compare the strength of Naira with that of the dollars for now. Why? Because what gives the value of your Naira, of your currency, is your export drive. Look at our export per annum and look at our import per annum. Is there anywhere near each other? What are we exporting apart from crude oil?
Crude oil.
Crude oil and raw materials,
yes,
from agri-produce and what are we exporting? The industries that we do have in the past have all closed down and have left this country. From Kano to Kaduna to Ibadan to Lagos, Obakran, Akme, Agbara, Port Harcourt, Oka, Abia, almost all the industries Nigerians were producing things that we're exporting, they are all closed down. Where is Michelin today? Where is Dunlop? Where are they? Go to Bompai in Kano, Sharada in Kano. What about the textiles? Where are the companies in Nigeria?
Okay.
What are we exporting? If we're not exporting anything, why should we allow the Naira to float? Floating here means that Naira has been asked to find its own level vis-a-vis other foreign countries of the world. When we have nothing to produce. If we don't produce, how do we end foreign currencies? It was a mistake. So what I'm asking the president is that Naira should be managed. We should go to our pre-1985 era when Naira was more value than dollars.
Okay. We will take a break now. When we come back, we are going to tell us what we did in the pre-1985 era, and we are not doing it now. So we'll go on a break and we'll be right back. We'll take a quick break now and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Thank you for joining us again, and our guest is still here, and we are taking a look at the performance of the President Tinubu-led administration in the last 2 years, especially as it has to do with the economic policies and reforms that has been rolled out during the period. And my guest is an economic analyst, a chartered accountant, and an administrator. He is Mr. Sani Johnson Emeje. Sir, before we went on the break, you were trying to tell us and to advise the government to go back to the pre-1985 era, and I asked a question. I said, what is it that we were doing in the pre-1985 era that we are not doing now?
Yes, we're very correct. Before the introduction of what then was called Structural Adjustment Program, Structural Adjustment Program, the Naira was stronger than dollars, and Naira was at par. And I think what we were doing there, even though it would seem as if it is outdated, it is not outdated. When you take a step, when you reform a nation, and the reform is not working, the best thing to do is to go back to where you lost it. Now, then I recall that if you must import anything at all to Nigeria, the importers will write to the Minister of Commerce and Industry, as it was called then. The Minister of Commerce and Industry will call for the NASIMA, that is a Nigerian Chambers of Commerce and Industry and whatever name it is called. Agriculture. And the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. The minister will call for an advice that somebody wants to bring, say, a textile. I mean,
say textile. Let's use
maybe textile material. For example, now the NASIMA and the man will advise, yes, we don't have enough stock that will go around the country. You can give approval for the importer to bring from whichever country. And what is done then, the importer will pay equivalent of the dollars he's looking for into his own account. It will be transferred to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Central Bank will connect to the company where you intend to import. Sure. And yes, the Central Bank will pay that company abroad and it will be shipped into Nigeria. In fact, you are not even allowed to even see or touch dollars then. Dollars is not the thing that you trade on the street as we are doing today. Dollars is not a local currency. Our local currency is Naira. And it's only those who are authorized to use the dollars that are using dollars. But today, every Dick, Tom and Harry brings anything from anywhere to Nigeria. Today, everybody, some students leave Nigeria to go and read economics abroad. You go to...
what's wrong with that?
Can't we read economics in Nigeria? I read economics in Nigeria, and I can compete with any of my colleagues anywhere in the world. You don't require to read economics. Look, you go to say China to go and read, or you go to Holland to go and read, you go to Japan to go and read economics. To come and situate in Nigeria here, are we running the same economy? Or somebody leave Nigeria to go and read English language in Nigeria, an English-speaking country? Or somebody leaves Nigeria to go and study sociology in another country? For what? And these fees are paid in dollars, putting pressure on our dollars. You don't allow that. There are some schools in Nigeria that are paid in dollars. I mean, that's not to manage the economy. Why should you allow another currency to be traded along with your own currency in your own country? People go to Cotonou to go and school in Benin Republic here, and they pay in dollars. People go to Chad, the cost they're reading there. Is there any? In fact, the least invested in Nigeria is not more than the invested they are going to read. Some of them in East Africa countries. All those things should be stopped. Nigeria should be well managed. Now, look, before the deregulation, before what we call social adjustment program of Babangida came to power, all those things are not allowed. It is this social adjustment. They say liberalize the economy. What are you liberalizing? You don't do that. Every economy must be managed just the way we manage our homes. We must manage the economy. We must not allow anything anyhow. The World Bank will tell you liberalize, allow first demand and supply, open your borders. How can you open your border when your productive capacity is not the same?
All right, let's take a quick look on the tax reform bill, also rolled out by this administration. What can you say about it? No, I
mean, the tax reform bill is still very controversial. Some part of Nigeria are not well pleased with that reform, the tax reform bill, because they have the feeling that it will not pay them. They are being disadvantaged. So let's leave it until they're able to resolve themselves. But if you ask me, there's nothing wrong with that tax reform bill. It is all about to make Nigeria work. It's good because the governors are. It's as if what we have in Nigeria is like a payroll governors. They are not thinking out of the box to see how they can generate funds. Everybody's waiting for allocation from the center.
A lot of them are working on their IGR, internally generated revenue.
Yes, the tax bill is to support that internal generation. The tax bill is to make you that whatever you can generate, you take 60% and give 40% to the federal government, and they are saying no, you do not pay us. In fact, as a matter of fact, very prominent is the VAT.
All right.
Understand? So the tax bill is good. Let them think out of the box. It will make Nigerians, the states, to compete with each other, and it will make the states to sit up. It's going to make us to be more active. It's going to make us to be more prudent in our spending. It's going to help us to be more focused. It will help us. But where the governors are only interested in sharing, without wondering about production, such a countries will not develop.
Okay.
So I quite agree with the federal government with that tax bill.
Okay, now ahead of the May 29th, which is the inauguration day, May 29th, what should Nigerians expect from President Tinubu? What changes do you think that his presidency should make? As a roundup?
I expect a very fundamental changes, especially in his cabinets. A fundamental change. Many of them are sleeping. They have to wake up.
You think so?
They are sleeping. I don't know a lot of their names. I don't know some people. I don't know whether some ministers even existed. We only know a few. Only a few. Well, I've talked about Wiki. I talked about Umahi. I talked about Dr. Tunji Ojo. We know those who are working and those who are not working. The president has to look for any brain anywhere in the world, even if they are not Nigerians. Even if they don't belong to his party, even if there is enemies, the president has to go all out and look for the best brains anywhere he can find them in the world to fix Nigeria. Nigeria is going down, and we are not happy. This is not the Nigerian that we met. The president, and you know, when Alanda he went to France to go and take holidays, and you know he has gone to study his administration, to take a critique of his administration, and you know he's going to give us a surprise on May 29. He's going to do a major change. He's going to bring in fresh hands, and some hands will go.
Okay, so what is your wish to Nigerians?
I wish Nigerians the very best, and that we must put our hands, we must pray for this country, we must pray for this president, we must pray for our leaders, and we should not just criticize. As for criticizing, we must also be thinking of how to give advice, constructive advice. Nigeria belongs to all of us, does not belong to Mr. President. If it is good, it's good for us. So that is my advice, that Nigerians should keep praying for the advancement of this country, for we have no other country but Nigeria.
All right. According to my guest, he said Nigerians should pray for Nigeria, especially the president and all the people in position of power, so that they can do well for our country, because Nigerians don't have any other country but Nigeria. So we should try as much as possible to give our support to the government for the betterment of the economy. And that is the size of our package on this edition of the program. The guest we have been speaking with is Mr. Sani Johnson Emeje. He is an accountant, an economic analyst, and also a chartered accountant and an administrator. Mr. Sani, we thank you so much for coming on today's edition of the program.
Thank you so much for the privilege to appear on this program.
All right. And to you out there, our esteemed audience, we sincerely appreciate your time with us on this edition. I am Ile Emeje saying, happy second anniversary of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration to all Nigerians.